What's up, Adam? Furious Man, what are you using these days for small diaphragm condensers on drums? In here, I'm using, can't see it, but I've got, these are all Earthworks. Like the Earthworks drum pack, the original drum pack that came out years ago. That's what I'm using in here. So it's the overhead, I think it's the 25. Is that what it's called? I think it's the 25, and then I have the individual drum mics on the toms and snare, and then they have a brand new bass drum mic that's in front of the bass drum. In the other room, where I do tracking for people's records, I'm using Austrian Audio, I think they're CC8s, pencil condensers in a ORTF sort of style position over the kit. That's my overheads. And I have a, what is the Audio Technica side address small diaphragm condenser? I can't remember the model number, but it's black and it's side address, so the diaphragm comes at an angle, so I can set it like a 45 over the hi-hat and it points right at where the stick hits. And I'm using a blue Hummingbird as my secondary mic on the snare top. That's all the small diaphragms I'm using. Everything else I'm using of a Mojave tube. Large diaphragm is my mono overhead. I have a Mojave FET. Large diaphragm is a mono room. I have some cheap Audio Technica ribbon mics out as stereo rooms. And Sennheiser E904s on the top of the toms. SE Electronic V tom, or whatever it's called. They're tom mics on the bottom. 57 top, bottom of the snare. I cover all the room, and I sometimes use a 57 as like a center of the kit, like knee mic. Yeah, I think Austrian Audio is AKG, people. They're amazing mics. My favorite. I've tested a lot of the small diaphragm condensers for overheads, and they're my favorite so far, of the ones I've tested. I don't know if they're super available here. I'm sure they have some dealers, but yeah, great stuff. They probably should get a little bit more attention than they get. So I hadn't done a snare of the week, I think I skipped last week. I've been loving this drum. It's a weird one. This is in the early days of Bucks County. What's the tag say? July 2016. Aluminum and Brazilian cherry, 5.5 by 14. So the aluminum, so what he was doing, I don't know how thick the aluminum is. It's probably a 3 mil piece of aluminum. And then he glued in thin staves of Brazilian cherry on the inside, and then some solid re-rings. So it's aluminum with cherry. So the drum head sits right at the exact point where the cherry and the aluminum meet. Quite an interesting sound, the old original badge. This thing cracks. I just tuned it up, and I hadn't played it this high in a while, and it's like a totally different drum. Check it out. This is one of those drums that you can play it a lot harder than, like, it doesn't really seem to have any head, like, there's no ceiling. The harder I hit it, the more it kind of opens up. I don't do a lot of music anymore where I have to play that hard, but it's also really nice played quieter. So that is G sharp, which is around 208 hertz. Bring it down to the G, which is where I've had it for the past week. I just have like a half a moon gel on it. This head probably needs to be changed soon too. The coating has been scratched away by brushes. All right, there's the G. It's a squeaky lug right there. Oh, too far. 196, there we go. G, third octave. This is where I had it for the past week or so. So why am I featuring a drum that you can't get anymore? Well, mainly because it was over in this rack, and I'm going in order through the rack. But you can still get these cast aluminum shells. I think DFD still has a handful of 6.5 by 14 cast aluminum, which are 3 mil with 5 mil re-rings that are milled into the shell. So they're like 5 mil at the bearing edge and then 3 mil the center of the shell. Those things rip. I think we still have a bunch of those. Thicker aluminum does a different thing than like thin seamless or rolled. There's the F sharp. Kind of gives me like the power that I would get from steel or bell brass, but it's a little bit more satisfying to my ear. All right, there's the F sharp, 185 hertz. And that's like a great kind of punchy studio modern rock kind of sound for me. F sharp seems to be that. Gets it into that world. Gets kind of punchier. Let's take it down to F, see what happens. This head might be getting towards the end. 175, 174, that's right at the F third octave. Should be pretty punchy now. Man, I've been obsessing over Steve Gadd for the past week or so. Those signature licks. So these thicker metal shells for me hold together really nicely when you tune them lower. Gets that real kind of beefy, punchy, but still has like some clarity to it. Whereas like an old mahogany or something, it'll just kind of gets woofy and pillowy. It still kind of rocks. Okay, now we're E. Down to absurd levels. 165 hertz. So that Gadd lick, Ride-em a Q. So Ride-em a Q, if you don't know that rudiment, it's a single, then a drag, and a triplet. And Gadd just puts the bass drum as the last note. And then I realized when he does those triplet things, he usually starts with the bass drum and often does left-right, which feels so weird to me. I don't know why I'm left-handed, but it just feels weird. I lose track of where the downbeat is. my ear just doesn't hear the bass drum on the downbeat. So that's something I'm working on. But that Rademacher lick is super cool. Here's what I've learned, because I've been watching GAD clinics and instructional videos like a freaking stalker for the past week or so. The Rademacher, traditionally, in rudimental form, is not all triplets. It's a tap, technically 32nd note drags, and then a triplet. So 8th note, 32nd note drags or 42nd note drags. Either way, doubles in duple feel and a triplet. One, a triplet, one, a triplet, one. GAD sort of flattens out the drags to be almost triplets, but it's not clean like versus the way he phrases it is a little bit closer to the rudimental style, which I didn't realize. So here's with everything even. Versus making that drag a little bit closer to duple, which is kind of what GAD does. It's like a subtle phrasing difference between being super even versus a little bit of a duple. At least that's what I think GAD is doing. It's a little bit more traditional rudiment. What's up, Felipe? Which solo has these in it? Anytime GAD plays a solo, you're going to hear these every single time. I think. I don't think that anything that's like longer than 4 bars. It's usually the way he kind of comes to like a climax with it. And then he usually ties it in with that hand-foot thing. I think if you watch, Asia probably has it, if you watch the Buddy Rich memorial at the end of GAD's solo when he brings the band back in. He's doing that. I'm sure before that he played the Rademacher. Which is different than a 6-stroke roll. So what I'm working on a video lesson now to do how to use both. Because the Radimacue has the kick on the downbeat. 6-stroke roll, there's no kick in it. Yeah, this drum is super cool. I've never tuned it down this low, and I'm kind of digging it. It has a GAD vibe. What if I put this damper on it? If it'll make it more GAD-like. Nope, too much. I like it with a little bit of craziness. All right, so what I've just realized, if you play a 6-stroke roll, right, left, left, right, right, left, which is technically an inverted 6-stroke roll. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. The right hand is playing on the downbeat. If you leave out one of the rights and play the kick, you can go into the Radimacue. Yeah, this was a one-off snare prototype, but you can find some cast aluminum. Just look for cast aluminum. Anything that's like 3 mil thick. Q Drums was making them for a while. There's some other companies making, because I know DFT sells the shell. 3 mil aluminum, cast aluminum. It's a beast. All right, I want to try to do 4 6-stroke rolls into the Radimacue. They're like, I wouldn't say they're sibling licks, but they're like cousins. It's a 4-stroke plus a Radimacue. Radimacue, well, 4-stroke is that, singles, triplet leading into the downbeat. So you just put a diddle or a rough before that. The Radimacue really slowly, sure. It's a right, well, it can be either hand, but right, and then a drag with the left, so 2 notes, and then a triplet. And then it would go opposite hand, so right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, diddle and a triplet. That's the Radimacue. So tap, diddle, triplet, tap, diddle, triplet. And the way GAD plays it on the kit, the first note is a bass drum. And he's only doing the right side. So replace the first right with a kick, left double, triplet starting with the right, snare, tom, tom. So kick, diddle, snare, tom, floor. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, then the six-stroke roll is triplets. Right, left, left, right, right, left. So if we go 4 of those into the Rademachew, it's this kind of weird morph. Question is, I don't know how to go the opposite way yet. From the Rademachew into the six-stroke roll. Maybe it would just have to be a left side six-stroke roll. All right, I think I might have just written an exercise for myself. I can't do it yet, but it'll get both sides. So you do six-stroke rolls starting with the right, then do the Gad Rademachew right side, then a six-stroke roll, starting with the left, and then the Rademachew. The opposite side. I will come back to that. Felipe had a question. Could you demonstrate the groove again by adding the fill slowly? Sure. So just the Rademachew. Kind of the trick with that Rademachew is remembering that the bass drum is landing on the downbeat. 1, triplet, 2, triplet, 3, triplet, 4, triplet. Yeah, so a couple Gadisms. That's one of them, the Rademachew. Then the hand-foot triplets starting with a kick. Which is where I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the kick left-right. I think I need a new mic cable. This one's been buzzing. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Bonham always did the triplets with the bass drum at the end, right? And I think both of those guys were listening to Elvin Jones, and I think Elvin was the one who kind of made drummers really pay attention to this. Obviously, other people were doing it. Papa Joe Jones. Before that, Buddy Rich. A lot of drummers were doing that, but it became Elvin's like primary solo lick. Which makes sense. I guess Bonham was older than Gadd. Gadd was born in 45, I think. So they're not too far apart in age. I'm sure they were both listening to Elvin and all these great jazz drummers, just each one of them came with their own way to do it. Gadd, it makes sense coming from his background as a dancer that the feet would be leading. That's the, so the Bonham triplets, I think, are hand-foot. So left, right, kick. And then Gadd flipped it, kick, left, right. So now the bass drum's on the downbeat. I have a hard time hearing it that way. All right, so what I feel is the advantage of the Sea of Gadd way, which is kick first, is it will resolve on downbeat right away. You don't have to do any kind of trickery to resolve it. So it's easier to resolve. Whereas if you do the Bonham way, hand, foot, you have to play a double kick to resolve it back on a downbeat. Which I think is a cool sound as well versus naturally resolving. You just have to play an extra hand note. You mean you resolve the hand, foot on a backbeat? like that on 2 or 4. That's pretty dope. That's a cool way to do it. Yeah, I wonder what is conventionally the most common way of playing that triplet. Yost is great. Felipe, what is my opinion? What is the most effective way? I can't have an opinion yet because I'm not fluent with the kick starting it yet. That feels like once I get it comfortable, it will save the extra effort of having to figure out how to resolve it. If I can just keep track of what the kick's always on the downbeat, it's easier. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2. But I just don't feel that naturally yet. I still feel this way better. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4. So they all kind of have their place, I think. I think whatever one you can keep track of where you are. Don't get lost. Don't throw in too many subdivisions or cut any subdivisions out of your fills. There's also the dreaded kick in the middle. What is the pattern? Which pattern are you talking about? Triplets. Triplet, 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 kick, kick, 3, 4, 1, 2. Go to this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kick left, right, kick left, right, kick left, right, kick. That's obviously just one way of doing this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. That's that way. Is it a better way? I can't say it's a better way. It's just different. It's a different way versus starting with the hands. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. You have to play that extra bass drum note. 2, 3, 4 to get back to beat 1. 3, 4, 1, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So it just requires a double in the bass drum, which can be more challenging depending on your technique, versus playing it kick, hand, hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're right in. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're right back on the downbeat without having to play doubles down here. And the other one, kick in the middle, hand, kick, hand, right kick, 3, 4, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. That's a different one. Or do left, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one just takes, it's more unfamiliar. All right, so there's 3 possible ways of playing that. You can do hand, hand, foot, or you could do foot, hand, hand, or you could do hand, foot, hand. 4 bars of, yeah, he's throwing, ends with a big big snare hit on what? On beat 4? What's he doing when he does that? 4 bars of this one. Hey, Felipe, thanks, man. That's what I'm here for. Help and share whatever information I can. Oh, on beat 1. 2, 3, 4. Then what does he do, though? I got to check it out. What does he do after the beat 1? Is that the end? Oh, cool. Well, yeah, there's a lot of gray area in this stuff. And we're just talking about triplets, so it gets even more I gotta check that out. So Dazed and Confused in Royal Albert Hall 1970. I'll check that out later. Because it just seems like such a final statement. Then what do you play after that? It's like that's the end. Wild. Yeah, I gotta check that out. It just feels like the end of a song to me. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for giving me something to listen to. I haven't listened to Zeppelin in a while, so I'm due for a bit of a dose. Back to the snare drum before I wrap up here. 5 more minutes. Where did it end up? It's a flat E. That's pretty freaking low. Yes, it is. This is, here, I'll show you the shell. This was something that Chris was experimenting with in the early days of making drums. He had someone fabricate a 3 mil, I think it's 3 mil, I have to ask him. I think it's a 3 mil, what does he say? Natural aluminum. So it's a pretty rough aluminum, straight shell. And then he put thin staves of cherry on the inside. So it's like a thin stave shell glued to 3 mil aluminum with, looks like 5-ply maple reinforcement rings glued in. So the bearing edge is on the outside aluminum, on the inside cherry. Pretty special. Hey Mike, you know what's insane is I just put in an order for a ebony snare. That's what's insane. I've got an ebony snare being built along with two. The conversation started with him. I was like, Chris, have you ever made any 10 and 12-inch snares? Because I want something for my duo kit. I want some extra snares for duo kit, like a flat, like a skinny 10, and then a deeper 12. And he was like, yeah, I can do those. And I'm also going to get some ebony if you want to put an order in. So it went from getting two relatively cheap micro snares. I think he's making them out of Jatoba. And then adding in the ebony snare. So I'm insane. Yeah, I see a lot of Brazilian drummers playing pearl. Is that why? Because it's the easiest to get. Used to be, is Odery still down there? They always made nice stuff. I haven't touched the tuning on any of these drums for weeks. I was starting to feel like maybe the 13 was slipping out of tune a bit. They're low. I think the batter heads are about as low as they can go. just for giggles, I'm gonna take this thing down another half step, see if it falls apart. Well, if you have an ebony snare, Macassar ebony, I don't think you need to worry about anything else. See you, Adam. Don't think you need to worry about anything else. At this point, I'm just keeping myself entertained. My duo kit is going to become this huge Bosio monstrosity. I mean, that's fun, but I think it's just too low. Yeah, I'm pretty sure once I get the ebony in here, it's going to be the starting point for everything. I remember when I tested the one. Did you buy that one? Or did you buy a different one? The one that we tested, I took it on a gig and it was also the best sounding gigging drum. So it might just become a drum I use on everything. So that's back at the F. How much do I practice drums per day? It varies. I always put in, I think it's about 15 minutes of like technique stuff on the practice pad first thing in the morning. That's a combination of technique builders and timing exercises and subdivision control, all that kind of stuff. I do all of that every day. I would say 6 days a week at least. I might skip a day if I'm traveling or something. And then on the kit, it varies. Some days I'm in the other studio recording for people and I don't have time to practice. So I might put in a couple hours of work, but I'm still playing drums. But I try to get over on here, gosh, I would say every 2 hours I try to get on the kit for 20 minutes. So in a 6-hour day, an hour. So at least an hour on the kit every day, practicing or doing this kind of stuff. At least an hour. So 10 minutes upstairs on the practice pad, at least an hour on the kit. And then if I'm gigging, they're usually 3 hours of gigs on the weekends. So let's say on a typical week, I might have 2 gigs So that's 6 hours of drumming. Hour on the practice pad, that's 7 hours of drumming. Let's say 6 hours of practicing, so 17 hours of a week probably on the drum kit at least. It's probably more than that, probably more like 20 hours a week, really, which is kind of absurd when you think about it. I'm just on the drums as much as I possibly can. I'm fortunate that my drum set is right next to my office, right there. My computer for work is right there. So whenever I need to take a break from writing or editing or whatever I'm doing, I can come over here and play the drums. So short answer, at least an hour every day. At least. I think you have to play a lot to keep your body aligned. It's such a physical instrument that any kind of atrophy just makes it, so much harder. I want the body to do whatever my mind tells it to do. Any kind of interference is just going to make it not sound good or feel good. Thank you. I'm striving to get better every day. Starting to get there. 30 some years later. I'm talking about the batter head at 352 or 252. Let's see. Visualization is good practice though. It's obviously not the same, but oftentimes I will visualize myself playing an entire set, or at least songs, and see if I can get through it mentally. All right, so here's 252, and then the bottom head for me is probably a little bit higher than 378, but close enough. So here's that tuning on this drum. I think that sounds great. If you're tuning your drum to that, it's going to be fat, but also still responsive. That's like a sharp F. Yeah, so that's a little bit lower than what I do on most typical gigs. Maybe for like I do play with a modern country artist, and I tune probably closer to this for him. Man, if you like that sound, I think it sounds amazing. Go for it. It's a nice medium sound. Be good for recording. Good for most gigs, maybe. Might be a little loose for like delicate stuff. No, I love it. That's a great tuning. Ah, man, if you like that tuning, if that sounds good to you, don't change it. I can play ghost notes. You can play loud. The drum sounds nice and full. I will usually tune higher than this if I need to play quieter, not louder. I think louder playing actually sounds good when you get the whole shell resonating. If I had to play really quiet, kind of articulate stuff, I will probably go quarter turn up. Let's see if I like it better. Because it focuses the sound a little bit more, makes it a little bit more controllable. So that's a quarter turn up. And it just got a little bit more, like I think where you were tuning it before, I would consider kind of punchy. Now it's getting into a little bit more cracky. So I'll tell you right now, and then I gotta go. 289. 289. That's like right around, almost like a D, 4th octave. That's kind of medium high. Will give you a bit more crispy, crackier sound. What's up, Ronald? You bought the cast steel shell plus the, oh, nice. Yeah, those, fundamental note, I'll tell you, those cast steel shells are amazing. I still have one of them. Yeah, it's like a flat G. It's a 192 fundamental, which is where I end up tuning often for gigs. Right around there, 192, 195. Yeah, I still have one of those cast steel shells for demo purposes in the other room. The thing's a beast. And it rivals my bell brass, which I spent a lot of money on. I'm glad you got that. It's a cool drum. All right, I gotta go. It is the end of the day. Thanks for logging on for the impromptu snare of the week. If you can find a thick cast metal shell snare drum, check it out. It's going to be cool. It's not just for super loud playing. They can be very versatile, very useful for a lot of different things. Hey Felipe, ask all the questions you want at any time. I'm here. That's what I'm here for. All right, gotta go. I'll be back tomorrow to do more of a kind of focused teaching thing at 1 Eastern time. Till then, see ya.